Z added a new update on Saturday, and while I'm a little late to cover it, I still want to talk about it because it's huge, mostly when it comes to the new early access character and Mahito's buffs. Choso, who's a new early access character, is ridiculously unique, and alongside Megami, I'd say he's the highest skill character in the entire game. There's a lot to talk about with him because his playstyle and design is odd, in a pretty good way, which I'll cover in this video. The other thing that's important with this update is that Mahito got a lot of buffs, some of them being intentional, and one in particular being huge, but probably not intentional. This video will go over these additions and explain how they've turned out in the game from what I've seen. So, let's get into the video, explain the updates, and go case by case. Choso was added to the game as the next early access character. Mahito got his first awakening added back. Additionally, a new black flash was added for his awakening that has to be landed 3 times. This black flash is done by pressing G in his awakened form, and it's similar to Idol Transfiguration in that when it activates, it does a little dash that hits anybody you touch. On top of that, there's a new move for Mahito which I'll talk about later. Combat trills are added to Mahito's melee attacks. New melee animations for Mahito's Super Awakening were added. 2 new roulette maps were added. The Shibuya Station map was redesigned. More spawn points were added to the roulette detention center. The hit sounds for Mahito's Super Awakening was changed. End of Journey was renamed to Sorcery Clash. Curses and Sorcery Clash have more health, and you can't attack your own teammates. Body Repel's variant no longer consumes Focus Strike's cooldown. Any invincibility or super armor frames will now last a maximum of 20 seconds. Soulfire not having stun was fixed, and trust me, this matters a lot more than you think it does. Mahito's Blade mode not having hit sounds was fixed. Moveset blocks checking for Awakening Outfits Game Pass instead of Early Access was fixed. Being unable to join Frenzied Roulette was fixed. A memory leak of Mahito using Awakening was fixed. Blood being able to collide with visual effects was fixed. Finally, getting a ton of progress on your Awakening bar when using Mahoraga skills was fixed, which seems mostly like it's a roulette patch. Starting off small with the stuff that should be recognized but isn't that big, Mahito getting trails and some hit sounds, as well as new animations in Super Awakening is cool. It all just looks really nice and I like it. The changes to roulette are also cool, and Sorcery Clash might be a better game mode with these new changes, though I haven't played it enough to form a conclusive opinion, so I can't say for sure. Other than that, every bug fix besides the Soulfire patch is just a good thing for the game objectively, and I'm glad about it. Now, I'm going to explain the Soulfire thing because I know that probably sounds confusing to you. You might be thinking, Noob Eternally, isn't Soulfire not having stun really stupid because people were able to Manji kick in the middle of it, or block and punish Mahito for landing his moves? And yes, it was stupid. I'm glad that Z fixed the stun on a conceptual level because it needed to be fixed since the move was practically useless as it was. However, what Z did not account for was how making the move faster and adding back the exact same stun would re-add a really stupid tech in a stronger version. And I'm including this section here even though people are definitely going to abuse this to high heaven, mostly because I want Z to patch this. See, a very old tech, which was a Soulfire flick, was added back with the stun, and the way it works is that if you use Soulfire, intentionally miss the last shot, and then M1, you'll reset your M1s and use it as a combo extension. Plus, since the move is faster now, there's less delay between Soulfire and your M1, making the extension actually true if you pull it off right. So, the bottom line is that Mahito has 2 combo extenders and a huge damage output as a result. Now, I'm pretty sure Z didn't do this on purpose, since he did remove a lot of the Mahito techs in the past that let him combo extend, specifically the Stockpile flick that worked the same way, and also let Mahito extend. So this is very likely just an accident from him fixing a bug that needed to be fixed. It might get fixed soon, maybe not, who knows. For now, Mahito is a top tier character because of it, so have fun with him. Staying on the topic of Mahito, the next thing isn't nearly as big, but I'm pretty glad that Z made the Body Repel variant that you do by pressing 4 and 3 no longer take up Focus Strike's cooldown. The variant is already enough of a trade-off because of how you lose the ability to turn the direction of the worm, and having to sacrifice Focus Strike for it was just way too much in my opinion. Plus, it's not like it's that busted or anything, since you could already use Body Repel in combos by turning it around. Just an overall good change. As for the big change of Mahito's awakening, let's start with his new move, which is Body Disfigure. This move changes depending on which mode you're in. Inside your basic mode, it's Drill Splitter. In Blade mode, it's a new move called Heart Piercer, which basically makes you attack anything underneath you as you walk forward for huge damage. In Club mode, it's Force Grab. In terms of how good each version is, since they all share the same cooldown after all, each of the 3 moves works well for getting a Ragdoll to combo with Mahito. Now, as for which move is best, well, I'd say it depends. Jewel Splitter is super fast, but has an incredibly specific range from where it works, so if you have that range, it might be the best option for easy damage. Heart Piercer does insane damage, but it has a bit of startup that can be interrupted, so it's probably best either in combos, or if you have a decent amount of range to set it up, but not too much where it can run away. Finally, Force Grab is the most versatile of them all, where you can kind of just use it from anywhere and get a hit, but you probably won't get nearly as much raw damage from it as you would from Jewel Splitter or Heart Piercer. I'd say Force Grab is the most reliable one, while others have their own uses for if you want to do it, though Jewel Splitter out of all of them is the worst in my opinion, though not by enough where it's a problem. As for the Mahito Black Flash change, it's a lot simpler than it seems. Mahito's new Black Flashes combo into each other, and very easily at that. So, if you land one, which is near effortless but can be comboed into if you're feeling like it, you can land all the others and get your Super Awakening for free. However, you sort of need to choose between your Awakening and your Super Awakening and focus on just one, because each Black Flash consumes a lot of Awakening that limits you to about 3, since using 4 cuts off your Awakening, and if you run out on your last Black Flash, it won't activate the Super Awakening. Basically, the new Black Flash is less of a Black Flash and more just a really cool Awakening animation because it's so easy to chain them and land the 3 you need to get the Super Awakening. Though it's not a problem balance-wise, since you can't use both due to the Black Flash Awakening cost. Either go for your Super Awakening, or stick to the normal one. The final big change is a new early access character, Choso, and he's going to get his own video going over his strengths and weaknesses, as well as generally how he plays alongside some tips. However, to give a really basic overview, Choso is an insanely unique character that ramps up as he plays, kind of like Surge or Clancy in Brawl Stars, and yes, I'm going to keep those analogies up because I play that game way too much. And once he's ramped up, he's able to do a lot with an enhanced moveset. When you start out with him, you have 0 Blood Orbs, forcing you to get in and fight with just your M1s and your first 2 moves to try and get enough Awakening meter to summon your Convergence Orbs. In this form, you're basically just a heavily downgraded version of Hikari, and by heavily, I mean heavily. I say that because Piercing Blood is really like Reserve Balls and how easy to dodge or block it is, and Flowing Red Scale is sort of worthless as a neutral move, very much like a Fever Breaker that can hit grounded players. Once you get that Awakening meter though, and put down your orbs, Flowing Red Scale gets a huge damage buff, and you gain access to Supernova, which is one of the best moves in the entire game. You do also gain access to a charged Piercing Blood that deals insane damage, but it's not nearly as big of a deal as the first 2 things I mentioned, because it's also really difficult to land against people with half a brain, and while you can sort of confirm it, the conditions you need to fulfill to pull it off are really tough. And rightfully so, when you consider just how much damage it does. Supernova is a little bit complicated, but to try and simplify it down, you throw out a Blood Orb that hovers around you in a spot where you threw it at, which you can then detonate by pressing R. These can also be stacked for hilarious shenanigans in public servers, though realistically in ranked, you're not doing this because of how the stacks get destroyed by you getting hit at all. These Blood Orbs are free ragdolls and damage in combos, and the cooldown on the move is incredibly short, so you can spam it to high hell. These orbs are incredibly hard to fight against because Choso users can chain them together and keep you perpetually stun locked the moment you lose your ragdoll cancel, as well as stop you from approaching with a projectile that has practically no cooldown. They can also go behind block to shut down turtling, and are just really good. I'll talk more about Choso in his own dedicated video, but just know that he's like the next Megami, and that he's extremely high skill, but unlike Megami, at higher levels of play, he's still pretty viable and can hold his own if the user is good enough. At least if you disregard Awakenings, because yeah, he's early access, doesn't have one, and he gets murdered by them. Anyways, that's all I have to say for now. I'll go more in depth on Choso in his own video, but as a whole, the update is pretty great. Choso is a lot of fun to use, and also incredibly unique, with a sort of playstyle that I've never seen in any other Battleground games, and the other updates are nice as well. If you enjoyed watching, then please consider subscribing for even more Jujutsu Shenanigans content. I'm Eternally, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in another video. Bye.